right, we are live. I haven't done this in a while. Maha, what's happening?
Hey, how are you? So good to be here. So good to see you.
Likewise as well. Are you finally home? Are you home in
I'm
Minnesota?
actually going to the airport right after this call.
Where are you headed to next?
I'm
Anywhere
going to New
amazing?
York. I'm going to New York.
Let me tell you something. The weather here, and I hate talking about the weather, but I only talk about because it's like the weather's like a boring common thing to talk about, right?
I heard it's really nice though in New York
But,
today.
but we're talking about the weather because it's glorious. We
It's
don't talk.
September in New York. There's nothing like it.
There is nothing like it. It's an exciting time to be here, and I'm excited to have you on. And welcome to everybody who is joining us, tuning in either live or listening to us in a few weeks when we air this as a proper podcast. So I've not been live for a while, and I, you know better than anybody. When the lights come on, there's something like it's like I consider like an athlete, like you're stepping at bat in the batter's box, or taking the jump shot. Right, the lights are on. It's time to go.
The lights are on.
The lights are on. It's time to go. So, quick introduction for anyone out there who does not know Maha. She is a personal branding expert, CEO and founder of the global communications consulting firm Digital and Savvy, and author of her forthcoming book, 7 Rules of Self Reliance, that's going to be out in October. I absolutely loved it. And listen, you can learn more about her. Click on her LinkedIn, but she's done it all. She's led PR efforts for big companies, Google, Netflix, opened Uber in the Middle East. That was pretty cool, and so much more. And her book is absolutely incredible, unpacks her journey, and we're going to get into it. Ma, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Adam. It's so good to be here and to see you again. I've missed you.
I know. We got to get the gang back together here. How was VCon this year?
VCon was awesome. They had it in LA and it was fun. I got to interview Nick Cannon. He's a multi-hyphenate. I didn't even know what that word meant until I met him. But basically, it means they do everything: writer, director, singer, producer, entertainer, talk show host. It was fun. VCon was awesome this year. Always brings together the community, good vibes. Met a lot of incredible people. It's the place to go if you want to network.
It is the place to go. And we're certainly going to talk about networking a little bit because that's something that you are a master of. That's something, honestly, and I said it in my post today, I truly consider it's one of the few skills that I'm actually considered a master of. And that comes with practice, and it's a big chapter in the book, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But first and foremost, just a bit of background for everybody. I've known Maha for a number of years, her relationship through Vayner and Gary Vee and all that fun work that she does over there, the incredible work behind the scenes, not just with Gary's brand, but with VCon and all the incredible guests and speakers that they have there. So for me, this book, and I'm going to fangirl for a moment here, this book and their new book right here, 7 Rules of Self Reliance. I thought I knew you until I read the book. I thought I knew you. I knew your story. I've had you on the show. But first and foremost, this book is incredibly well written. That is kudos to you. I get a lot of business books from guests on my show coming my way. I try to at least skim through most of them. This one I read in literally 2 days.
Yeah, it's a quick read, and I actually wrote it myself.
Well, we're going to get to that in 1 second because I want to talk about that. I mean, you are a not just trained writer, but you're an exceptional writer. You've been doing this for forever, for your entire life since you've been able to write. And there's a big difference there because you could tell it comes from the heart. And for me, it wasn't just the actionable insights, which are plenty in this book, but it's how you weave the story of your personal journey, and you really dig into the journey with both of your parents, who, like many of us, our parents are getting older and they're going through ailments and health issues, but it really speaks so much to your character and who you are. And I really felt that after I read this book, Maha, that I just knew you so much more. And for me, that is a testament to a good book when you feel like you truly know the person, and knowing you personally. And after reading this, I just feel like it's a deeper connection. So kudos to you for writing an absolutely incredible book.
Thank you. So, Adam, a lot of people know me from social media, like they see my work and what I do, but they don't really know me. And there's so much to my story. So I'm born and raised in Minnesota, lived here until I was 27, then lived overseas for 23 years and came back. So I think people just knew me or heard of me when I was in the US, but I had a whole lifetime before I came back. And my mom had MS and my dad had Lou Gehrig's disease. And it's not something you will find on my social media that I talk about. So I put it in the book because I feel it's actually shaped who I became. It translated into how I run my business. It translated in how I treat other people. And this book is not about the what I do, communication, storytelling, PR. It's not a comms book. It's about the how. How do you bring value to other people? How do you build your personal brand? How do you become a long-term player? How do you network in today's modern age? How do you become a value creator and not wait for opportunities, but go create them yourselves? How do you become a lifelong learner and being curious? And so the book is about self-reliance. It's not about independence. It's about empowering yourself with skills to be valuable to other people.
So let's start there for a moment. How do you define being self-reliant?
Yeah, to me, self-reliant is about betting on myself. Very simply. Like I don't want to be left behind in life because I don't know things. So what do I need to rely on myself for? I need to have all the cards in my hands. And those cards are skills, experience, and relationships. So I want to know things. I want to rely on myself to have relationships instead of needing your relationships when I need something. I want to have a strong reputation, i.e., personal brand.
Mm-hmm.
I rely on myself to get ahead because I'm a team player, a collaborator, a problem solver, a contributor, a strategic thinker. Those are the skills that I want and the experience I want to stand out if I want to rely on myself. And I also think about, if you Google self-reliance, it's about being independent, not needing other people. I wrote this book to redefine and rebrand what it means. It means being valuable to other people by being strong and coming to the table with something instead of expecting our employers, our friends
Mm-hmm.
do stuff for us.
I,
I think just one thing I was going to say, I think a lot of times we wait for permission from others. We let other people decide our futures. When we should actually just trust ourselves. And if you read this book, it gives you the confidence and the rules on how to do that.
this is a guidebook for that, but I want to double back for a moment here because I love to talk about authors, especially when they write the book themselves. First of all, when did you start the process? How long did it take? I think it's really important for people to understand that you didn't just bang this out over a long holiday weekend. This
No.
is a process here.
So I've been percolating about writing a book for more than 10 years. I'm like, I have a story. I knew what happened with my parents. I knew growing up in Minnesota as an Egyptian and then moving to the Middle East and coming back. I knew there was something there that was something worth sharing. And I was like, should it be a comms book? Should it be a memoir? Like, no one's going to find my story interesting. So I percolated for a long time. And I actually, about in 2019, I wrote a book proposal and I sent it out to people. And everyone's like, no one's going to read that. It's not a book. And so then I was like, okay, it's not my time. So I just waited. And then last year, when you have goals and, New Year's resolutions. And I'm like, I'm not going to have every year this be on my list of goals that this is
Book.
a book and not do it. Dang it. I'm going to actually do what I set out to do. So I hired help. I hired someone to help me write a book proposal because I have no idea how to do it. So self-reliance is about self-awareness. What do I know?
What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What do I need help with?
And get help. Like you
Mm-hmm.
gotta get help. Self-reliance does not mean you don't get help. So I got help to help me write the book proposal and sent it out to a bunch of publishers. And then I actually got a book deal. And then, it was 7 months of trying to figure out what the book is going to be structured. That's the hard work, because you have to figure out what are the chapters, what's interesting, how do you organize your thoughts. That was like 7 months of thinking and getting it to that proposal. That took forever.
Wait, pause there for a second here, because I want to talk about the structure of this book, which I think is fantastic. And anyone who's going to pick this book up, they're going to see a couple things. One, it's well structured, right? And at the end of each chapter, there's a cheat sheet, which I absolutely love. And there's kind of a summary about each chapter, breaking it down into digestible parts. And I think that's a key part of any business book too, is how do you make it digestible and actionable?
Yeah.
But
I want people to put it to work. Like it's not a story for them to read. It's a playbook. It's a modern playbook of how to operate in today's
exactly. So you talk about self-reliance and always betting on yourself and consistently learning. Through the process of this book, writing the book, the marketing of the book, the publishing of the book, where we're at right now, we're about to go into a launch. What have you learned about yourself through this process?
First of all, I have incredible stamina. Like there's nothing I'm not willing to do. Like I'm going to put my heart and soul into this. I'm going to put every effort. I'm not going to leave anything on the court. I'm going to just try hard to call every person I know, text everyone I've served. Can you help me? Can you buy the book? Can I be on your podcast? Can you buy a bulk order? Can I speak at your company? So you have to be willing to ask for help. So a lot of people I have a lot of interest in bringing value to people. And so like, I've been really relentless of like, okay, what can I need your help, but I want to also deliver value in return. So if I'm going to go to a company and ask them to buy some books, I'm like doing a workshop or doing something. So I've learned that about myself. The other thing I learned was like, I have no idea how to do this. I had like an aha
Figure it out.
I was like, wait, I've never done this before. Where can I learn from other people that have written books, agencies who manage book launches? What skills am I missing that I need to hire for? What capacity do I have to do this whole process? What capacity and skills do my team have? What capacity and skills do my team not have? So I have to like learn a lot about what do I need and when do I need it? And then try to get the right teams and players. And it's just like putting together a football team. You might have, a point guard who knows how to shoot 3-pointers. You might have to bench them because they're not delivering. You got to get somebody else in the game. So we've gone through all of that. Trust me. It's a process.
I love that. I love that analogy too. And it comes down to being resourceful. It comes down to knowing that if you can't, it goes down to knowing your strengths and knowing your weaknesses. Yeah. And also understanding outsourcing. And kind of my approach to outsourcing is, listen, there's things I want to learn from my own personal skill set. But at the end of the day, I got to keep the train moving, right? So anything somebody could do better, faster, more efficient, more cost effective, I'm probably going to outsource it. I'm probably going to outsource it at that point. So was it hard for you? Was it hard for you to be as vulnerable, open, and honest as you are in this book? Was there parts of you that wanted to hold back?
No, I mean, you can ask my team all the day. Every time I'd start a call, I'm like, hey guys, I've never done this before. So we're going to figure this out together. No, I mean, I just knew there's things I don't know how to do digital marketing ad campaigns on Meta and lookalike audiences. Right. I have no idea how to do that. So like that wasn't very hard to recognize, like, I don't know how to do that. And then I feel like when you're embarking on any major project and you've never done it before, really try to learn from others. Don't try to sweat it out and don't try to, reinvent the wheel. Try to learn from what other people do. Like I met Adam Grant. I'm like, Adam, what is the playbook? What do I need to do? You are one of the best-selling authors in the world. And then he sent me like a detailed email. Like, these are the things I wish I would have done. These are the things you should do. These are the things you should avoid. Don't waste your time on this. So I did talk to a lot of authors who have had successful books on what does it take? What is the role of the publisher? What is the role of the author? I mean, I'm very uncomfortable selling things, but you know what?
You have to.
I'm selling things now.
We are independent operators. We are small business owners, and you're always selling one way or another, but it's always the value prop and the value pendulum. Yeah. And I learned the value prop is not always going to be 50-50, right? No, you could give there's times when I could only give a certain amount to somebody who's, higher up on the food chain than me, but that's all that matters. Because sometimes that small piece of value is, you don't even know how valuable that is to them, because they may not have that piece.
Yeah. The fun part is now I'm starting to talk about it a lot in groups and Zooms and in podcasts. And yesterday I did a live event in Minnesota, and it was so much fun. It's so much fun to be out in real life talking about the book. Now I have something I can hold in my hand. And this is a promotional copy, not the actual hardcover. But I feel like it's coming to life, and people are starting to read it, and people like you giving me feedback. It makes every ounce of energy that I'm putting into it worth it. And I really feel so many people are going to get value from this book. And I'm just excited for the conversation to unfold.
It's going to spark a lot of conversation because it's actionable. So let's get into it. And there's 7 chapters here. And I want to highlight a couple of pieces that stood out to me, because I could spend an hour.
I'm curious to know, what did you like?
I could spend an hour. I could spend an hour on each chapter here. But the first chapter here is staying low and keep moving. Yep. The title alone hit me well, because I really think it's about not so much building in stealth mode, because I think there's an element to building in public that's important, social media to an extent. But what it really is about is being adaptable and being disciplined and keeping that low profile. Why is it important when you're building a bit? No, where am I off on that?
It's not low profile. Staying low is not about being low profile. So stay low is about being ultra focused on what you care about. It's avoiding the distractions, social media distractions, people doubting you distractions, the voices that are holding you back from doing what you want to do. Stay low means put your head down, put in the hard work, put in the effort, and the results will rise on their own. The accolades will come when you finish the hard work. So staying low is just about being focused, like really focused on what you care about, because it's so easy, Adam, to be
There's a lot of
comparing yourself
distractions.
to other people, distractions on social media, people telling you can't, people not helping you in the right time, in the right place. So stay low is not about being low profile. It's about being uber focused, ultra focused on what you care about.
Why do you think so many people in this modern age, specifically young folks, I see it out there, they try to take the shortcut? Is it the result of social media and this instant gratification, this optics of success or what success looks like? And I feel like we've lost this concept of hard work paying off. And I think that's another part of the book too, because it shows you got to where you are with your network and your connections and your success, but it took 30 years to get here.
Yeah, I'm 54. I didn't just become successful because I started working for Gary Vee a minute ago, right?
Yeah, that's not the way it worked.
It's not the way it worked at all. Like I was head of communications at Google. I launched Netflix in the Middle East. I worked for 3 undersecretaries of state for public diplomacy. I worked for the ruler of Dubai. I worked for the, prime minister.
And these are receipts. This isn't humble bragging, folks. This is receipts that show you.
That I
it's a resume. It's a resume of work. It's a body of work.
Yeah. So I feel like even this whole part about staying low, like I had to learn that the hard way. I moved to Egypt. I'm born, raised in Minnesota, lived here my whole life, worked at General Mills doing sports marketing, working for the coolest brands in the world. At 27, my mother, she had MS. She had MS since I was 14. She was very sick. My parents had lived in the US and decided they wanted to go back and retire and live in Egypt. And I was taking care of my mother. At 27, I moved to Egypt and I couldn't find a job. I wanted to work for like a P&G or a Coca-Cola or a Pepsi or one of the American companies in Egypt because I felt more comfortable in a US corporate environment in a foreign country. Egypt to me, even though I'm 100% Egyptian, was very foreign to me. And then I ended up getting offered this job to be the office manager for this billionaire. And I went home devastated. I'm like, I'm 27. I've been working for a couple of years. I have my master's degree. I should be working, at a company, not being a secretary outside a chairman's office, answering phones and scheduling meetings. I thought it was beneath me. I was so stupid. And then my dad said to me, you just moved here. You don't know anybody. You need to start at the bottom and move your way up. Be humble, put in the hard work, let your work speak for itself, turn the job into what you want it to become. Deliver what he wants first, and then show your value, and then you can ask. And he actually told me something, I don't even remember if I put it in the book, is that like, performance is the key to independence. Like if you perform well, you can get a lot of independence from your employers in your work because you're putting points on the board and you're delivering.
It's all about delivery.
It's about delivering. And so this stay low thing, and the reason I think there's so many distractions and people are comparing and want to be the VP and the entrepreneur and the CEO, is because people think that life is glamorous. Like I've been running my company for 20 years. Every night I worry about payroll, a client leaving, economic downturn,
heavy as a crown,
somebody in my team leaving. Like there's always things you're worried about. It's not fun all the time. Yes, you have your freedom to work on what you want to do, but you're also on the clock 24/7. For 20 years, I've been on the clock.
You certainly pay your dues, but you kind of lead into the next part, which is rule number 2 of becoming a value creator. And the part I circled here, sharing knowledge. We all have knowledge to share, but how do you find those opportunities to identify the knowledge that you have and who to match it to create value to build your network?
So I think about, you have to be a really good listener. You have to understand, what do people care about? And then when's the right time to use your knowledge and value to deliver value for somebody else? So I talk about maybe a couple examples in the book around this. I don't know specifically in this chapter, but like Matt Higgins. Matt Higgins is somebody that I met at a Super Bowl party, like in passing, like maybe 4 years ago. He's on Shark Tank, teaches a class at Harvard that featured Kim Kardashian recently, author of Burn the Boats, RSC Ventures, real estate, direct-to-consumer brands.
All around good dude also.
All around good dude. And Matt does business all around the world. And, everyone knows like China's closed for business. Europe is declining. But he was very curious about the Middle East. And he's like, I've never been to Dubai or the Middle East. And I feel like I should know that market And so I'm like, oh, that's something I can create value for him in, because I'm
Mm-hmm.
Egyptian. I lived in Egypt and Dubai and Saudi. I know those markets. So then once I heard him say that, I knew that was the place where I can deliver value. It was a unique skill, talent, expertise. I could actually probably help him. And if I couldn't, I was going to find the right people to connect the dots to make that happen for him. So it's listening to what people care about, anticipating their needs, understanding what the value proposition is. Like, it's not what I think is important, Adam. It's what you think is important.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
Listen.
say you value learning about personal brand. So maybe I will send you articles about that, or recommend podcasts to you, or tag you on interesting posts that I see about that. So it's being a good listener, anticipating needs, but also taking that step, small or big. Maybe it's making an introduction. Maybe it's helping you for something for your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I create value for you, is I invest in my relationship with you to make deposits in your trust bank.
Making deposits in the trust bank, and I listen. I am a student and a practitioner of the long game. I mean, you know that firsthand, and that's what it's really about. And I try to show that to people by showing my receipts. Like, how is Adam getting certain guests on his show? How is he able to reach out to certain folks? It's about playing the long game, not being super transactional. Listen, there are times in life, and there are certain relationships that are transactional by nature. And
Yeah.
I think it's really about understanding the long game and
Yes.
practice and just being patient. I mean, our guy Gary talks about it all the time. Just patience. There's such a lack of patience these days. Why do you think there's such a lack of patience out there?
And we're in an instant gratification society, right? We want to tap to pay and get out of the store. We want to download the whole series and episodes
Hmm.
now. We don't want to wait. We want to even order our coffees in advance, so we don't have to wait in line and just pick it up. I feel like we have been spoiled by having constant access to information at our fingertips. We don't even want to wait 3 minutes for a video to 3 seconds for a video to load. Like,
No, more than now. No
catch
commercials.
and yeah, so like I feel like we've been blessed that the internet is free and we get access to information at our fingertips. I feel that's why we want things instantly. And I feel the biggest thing, if I could just think about the impulsivity of wanting information and access at our fingertips, is we don't learn about what I profess in this book about the long-term game. Like, some things take weeks, months, years to materialize.
Be
And
patient.
building relationships takes time. Building a relationship needs trust. Building trust takes time. And so, are you willing to invest in long-term relationships? Are you willing to invest in building your network? And that takes time. Like, it's not like social media where you can friend and unfriend somebody with the push of a button, right? You need to make an effort. You need to check on them. You need to call them. You need to schedule that coffee.
Put
You
the
need
effort in.
yeah, even supporting them through social media, share something that they care about with your audience. That's building that kind of trust and building that long-term relationship.
Love it. Chapter 3. Don't be a waiter. And what I take my kind of spin on this is, just because something's an emergency to you doesn't mean it's a priority to somebody else. You
That's good.
cannot think that you're going to be a priority to everyone. I mean, talking business relationships specifically here, you cannot be. So you need to take action. And I think that's a huge part about being self-reliant. And my motto, I swear, is every day is make shit happen. Make shit happen, because I'm the only one and you're the only one that's going to keep kicking that ball down the field.
Yeah, I think the don't be a waiter, be a creator chapter. It happened to me in my life, where someone came up to me and said to me, we were having tea in Egypt, this was ages ago. He's like, Maha, you're a waiter. And I'm like, what? And he's like, you're just waiting. You're waiting for Mr. Right. You're waiting for your boss to give you that promotion. You're waiting for him to give you the project that's going to make you the rock star. You're waiting for something better to come along. And at the time of my life, I wasn't unhappy. I was getting up, going to work, working out, seeing my friends, doing my
Things are
routine.
good.
Things are fine. But he was right. And that's what kind of got under my skin. I knew I could do more. I knew I wasn't working on the things I actually really wanted to be doing. I knew that I could, be happier if I focused on what I wanted versus what was just coming my way. And that's when I made that kind of shift in my head. I'm like, okay, what do I want? I want to work on these things. Well, do I have to wait for someone to give to me, or can I go acquire the skills, knowledge, and relationships to go do it myself? Oh, put in hard work. Yeah, go do that. And so I did. And that's what I want to teach people. how to have that, to go for that shift from being a waiter to being a creator. And what does that look like? If you are people who are creators, do these traits, do these things. And I give you a playbook in the book on how to do it.
And that it all ties into self-awareness too, and understanding you need to
Very
park your ego, know what you're good at, identify your strengths, and it's okay. You say, be a dreamer. Oh my God, I daydream all day long, but there's a difference between dreams and reality, and that comes down to execution. And I talk about it all the time. Of course, we have ideas, but they're nothing until you execute. So you got to go out there and make things happen. One more point in this book I want to talk about, because I've been digging into this a lot lately on social media, is stepping out of your comfort zone.
Yes. That's a being
Nothing
a
happens. Nothing happens on the other side of fear. Everything happens on the other side of fear. Success happens on the other side of fear. You have to push the boundaries to get past the plateaus.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like that's being a waiter. You're just in your comfort zone. Like I was in my comfort zone. I wasn't going creating opportunities. I wasn't putting myself out there. I mean, for me, like it was scary to move from the US to Egypt at 27. And then in 2020, I was in the US January, February of 2020, get back to Dubai, March of 2020. Everybody knows
pandemic, yep.
In March 2020. And I was like, I did the ultimate don't be a waiter move. And I was like, after living overseas for 23 years in Egypt and Dubai, now I live there now. I'm not in the States. I'm going to move back to the US. I'm like, my sister you're coming? I'm like, yep, I'm coming tomorrow. I'm like, pulled off the Band-Aid. You'll read in the book the details of the circumstances. It's such a crazy and wild story. I don't know how I did it, but I did. I just decided like I can either stay in Dubai where I have a great life. There's no reason to leave Dubai. Dubai is one of the easiest, safest, beautiful cities to live in the world. High tech. It's easy to navigate. Dubai is like one of the most perfect utopia cities that exist in the world. I had no reason to leave, but I also had no reason to stay.
That's the important part, right? No reason to leave, sure, but no reason to stay. It was comfortable.
It was comfortable.
You were in your safe spot. You were good. There was nothing to worry about. No challenges.
Yeah. And not only that, I moved back to the US during the pandemic. I was working with Gary at the time. And then I moved back like in March, and by like October, or that summer, I started my own company. I'm like starting a company remotely in the US, no clients, in a pandemic, hire staff.
Figure it out.
I mean, yeah. And 4 years later, I think we're doing okay. But I feel like, I'm really proud of myself that I left during the pandemic. Like I can't believe I did it. And I'm really happy that I moved home. Minnesota is home for me. I'm closer to my sister and my family. But it was a decision I just had to take. And I just if everything works out for me with the move and the movers and my dog and the papers, and I get out the airport.
It always works out.
Locked down, everything just the seas parted and everything worked perfectly. Then then it was meant to be.
Well, yeah, I mean, you also put good intentions out there and you do things the right way. And we'll talk about that in a little bit about reputation. When you do things, and the way you do anything is the way you do everything. And I truly believe that. Moving on to the next chapter, let's talk about unlearning, relearning, and investing in yourself. And I always say the biggest bet you're going to make, the biggest bet you should always make is on yourself. No one else is going to bet on you. You have to bet on yourself. You have to double down. You have to go for it. And guess what? It's not going to work out all the time. I mean, look at baseball analogy. If you're batting 350, it means you're only succeeding 35% of the time and you're a Hall of Famer. Are you kidding me? If I did that in business, I'd be out on the street. So I want to talk a little bit about embracing failure.
First of all, I'm a huge sports junkie, but I'm not a baseball junkie, so I can't help you there.
Fine, let's go to the free throw percentage. How about what's
the NFL, the NBA?
Okay, what's a bad free throw percentage? A bad free throw percentage, like even the worst player in the league, like 70%, right? And you still could be good. You could still be like Shaq.
He's pretty good.
Well, I don't know. Basketball is not number one on my list. I'm baseball, football, hockey, and then.
Sorry, I took you off topic, but I was like, oh my God, I'm not a baseball. I go to one baseball game a year because it's a summer tradition.
They do have a beautiful stadium. That stadium is nice out there.
Yeah,
I've been out there. Yeah, it's a nice one. So digging into failure.
Sorry.
Why do you think it's like a stigma? Listen, my failure is well documented, and I bounce back from that. But why can't you have to eat a big chunk of humble pie, depending on the level of the there's micro and macro failures. Let's be very clear about that. But each one of them, and it's not even a cliche or one of those motivational posters on the break room wall with the cat hanging on. You got this. but it's more, hey, take it as a lesson learned.
Yeah. So initially we were talking about this about lifelong learning and this chapter about unlearning and relearning. I feel like if you want to embrace, if you walk away from nothing in this book, but you walk away from this rule, this is the most important rule of the book. Because if you want to be more self-reliant, the number one thing you need to do is be curious. And you need to acquire information. I don't want to be left behind because I don't know things. Everything is available to us at our fingertips for free.
All the time.
YouTube is free. Podcasts are free. Learning from people is free, right? I can have coffee with you and learn about something from you. All I need is your time, right? I feel like our access to information is such a blessing. Why wouldn't we? We live in the most exciting times of our lives right now. I can learn about how somebody built this company or behind the scenes of this entrepreneur. I get to see, today I saw this company that posted a video of how they make the hummus, which I love hummus. And I'm like, that was so interesting to me. Like I never knew how they
It's amazing when you learn something that you've always been curious about.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is you need to figure out, what is it that you are curious about? What do you want to learn? What do you need to learn to stay relevant in the business market? You know, what do you need to unlearn? What are things that are no longer serving you that you need to take away from your vernacular, take away from your mind? That's old way of thinking. We're modernized, we're disrupted. So unlearning is important. What do I need to relearn? I need to relearn about how to be good at networking. I need to understand the importance of these relationships in good times and bad. Your network's not there for you to get tickets to your son to a game or get a job.
No, it's not, hey, I need seats for the Met game, right? Like
Yeah,
that's not.
yeah. So that's what I really want you to think about. This chapter about lifelong learning, I give a lot of tips on where to go to learn and how to do it, because everyone's like, I don't have time to read books, Maha. I'm busy. I don't have time to read books. Maybe you have time to listen to an audiobook on your walk. Maybe you have time to watch a YouTube video while you're sitting at the airport. You know, you can take it in bite sizes. You don't need to be
Find
offline
those moments.
doing a class somewhere in a classroom that's going to cost you thousands of dollars. Take advantage of the free resources that exist in the world today. Being a self-reliant person or having that self-reliant mindset means that you know that investing in yourself is the most important thing you ever have to do. It makes you valuable for your employer. If you're an entrepreneur, it teaches you things that you need to get ahead and to stay ahead in your business. And it's also the thing that keeps you sharp. We're living longer. We're healthier than we've ever been. So we need to know things because the market is going to outpace us if we don't.
Let's talk about like what I'm thinking right in my head and what you're saying, that is AI. And I have so many conversations with people that are like, oh, no. They're not putting in the time and effort to at least have a baseline knowledge so they could form an opinion and be knowledgeable about it.
Yeah.
You should be getting involved. I mean, this thing, it's not going anywhere. And I use AI as an example. If you're not learning about it, you are going to get dusted.
Yeah, I think just like be curious about it. Like just download ChatGPT, or even if you go to Google, Google's now integrated Gemini in their tools. I love looking at it and learning about it. Do I use it every day for my business? Maybe not. But are there things sometimes where I'm tapping into it or I'm learning how can I edit a video better? What are some tools to fix this blur or fix this image? There's incredible things that could save you time, save you money, and save you resources. You don't have to hire like a boatload of people to do work that AI can do like that.
Well, I lost my producer that I've had for a couple of years. He moved on last year to bigger and better than my show. I still love him. He's my dude. And I had to take back doing most of the research for my show, and my bandwidth is tight. So I started using ChatGPT. It would ingest the guest information. It would give me thought starters. It would give me frameworks that I need for conversations.
Amazing.
And I don't use it as gospel, and I fact check it, right? Because you have to know that data in, data out, garbage in, garbage out. You need to be mindful of it. But use those tools around. So I want to go on to chapter 5 here, which is reputation. And this is critical to me, and it's something that I hold in deep regard. And you know, when I use myself, for example, when I 10 years ago, when I got let go from Vayner, that could have been detrimental. I could have scorched earth, napalm that relationship, but I didn't. And I was only there for a few months, and it's been 10 years since that. And I've taken 10 years to rebuild that bridge, to fortify it, and add value to folks like yourselves and Gary and Claude and everyone, yada, yada, everyone else on that team there. And I show people that by example. that reputation takes time to build, but
Yep.
seconds to destroy. And you need to be mindful of what you say, who you say it to, what you do and say on social media. And so many people are just frivolous with the way they act and talk out there. And there's no repercussions and there's no accountability. And it's just disastrous. What's
There are
your
repercussions. That's what
well,
we've learned. Yeah.
yeah. So what is your advice to folks out there on social media and just in general when it comes to
Yeah, I
reputation?
feel like I talk a lot about this in the book, but in general, your personal brand equals reputation. So
100%.
everyone says to me, I'm not a personal brand. I'm not a social media influencer. I'm not a company. I don't need a personal brand. You're wrong. Because I want you to think about personal brand. Just take that word out of your head and replace it with reputation. And don't you want to care about your reputation, right? If you have a social media account, you have a personal brand. It's how you show up in the world. It's what you're putting out that you want the world to see. You're telling a narrative, whether you are intentionally think you are or not. You are sharing parts of your life, your work, your story. And so I want you to just be conscious about how you want to show up. If I work at a company today, I need to have a strong personal brand because I want to get a promotion. I want to be assigned the best projects. I want people to look at me and say, oh, she's a collaborator, a team player, a problem solver. She's curious. She's resourceful. She's a hard worker. That's a
Exactly.
personal brand. That's your reputation. And if you are an entrepreneur and you have employees or team members you want to recruit, you better have a strong personal brand or they won't come work for you. Now I can work anywhere. I have access to an internet. I don't have to worry about getting a job in my market.
No.
I can work in any city, in any state, in any country, as long as I have access to the internet. So the competitive pool is massive right now. So we need to think about how to stay competitive.
How do you differentiate?
How do I stand out? How do I promote myself? And you do need to promote yourself. Personal branding is not about self-promotion. It's about leadership. It's about thought leadership. It's about what are the things that I want to attract a company. I want to attract a client. I want to attract a partner. I need to think about, well, what are the steps I need to do to build my personal brand online and offline? I'm not talking about what you just do on social and then you're an asshole in real life.
Yeah, that's the worst. When you see somebody online and you're like, oh, they're so amazing online, then you meet them and they're just a completely different person.
Yeah. So like, how do you treat the barista? How do you treat your team members?
Yep.
How do you treat your employees? How do you treat your partners? How do you treat your suppliers? How do you treat your customers? That's your personal brand. That's your reputation.
You said something interesting too about personal brand is not being self-promoting.
Not self-promotion, yeah.
But there is a time and a place to be self-promoted, but it's not all the time. And there's a difference between social selling and personal branding, right?
No, I think like the confusion around your self-promoting is you should never be doing that, right? You should be bringing value to your audience. You should be giving them something worthwhile that allows them, that's worthy of their attention or their time. So in no case do I feel self-promotion is appropriate, but I feel like you should be adding value. Like if you're going to be speaking at an event and you want to share that you're speaking at this event in case they want to come and learn or register and sign up. Or if you want to say that you're excited about speaking on a panel, if they want to come attend that, or you want to show that you are getting on stages and panels, there's value in that. So that's creating value. So don't think that that's self-promotion. That's actually value for the audience, for those who want to attend, come listen, didn't know you were going to be there, want to connect with you, want to network with you. That's very, very valuable.
And the one way you can do that, which is in the book here, is show and tell. And I kind of put a spin on it too. When I'm in recruiting too, I want you to show me how you did something and then tell me how you did it.
Yeah. I think, people like to learn how to do things. That's why like managers and leaders who are coaches, like give us the playbook of it. Let us run with it. Like we have to learn how to execute things on our own and touch things. And too often I just wrote an op-ed about our society has gone soft. Like too often we want people to make decisions for us when actually we know what's best for us. Like we know the decisions that we want to make, we just don't take them because we don't trust ourselves. And so I feel like with this, era that we're entering right now, I believe now more than ever, You got to have these skills and knowledge and tools to rely on yourself so you can be valuable for other people. So you can come to the table with something. So you're not just walking in expecting others to do for you.
You can't expect that, and I think that starts at home. I think it starts with the upbringing. I'm really trying to instill that with both of my kids to be self-reliant. And it's not just being independent from that point of definition,
Yep.
but they're learners too. And I think with technology, it's amazing. The knowledge and vocabulary my little 6-year-old dude has just from watching YouTubes.
So good.
It's
They need to
incredible. And he's inquisitive. He's asking me questions. He's asking me about planets. He's asking me, they watch things that inspire them. So not all tech is bad, parents out there. Just monitor, how much tech there's getting. So moving on to the next, well, let me backtrack for a second and we get into Rule 6 about being a long-term player. And this is the long game. I preach it, I breathe it, I keep talking about it, the long game, because that's where the results come in. And a key element of the long game is networking. And it says right here, networking is not a zero-sum game. What does that mean?
It means that like, it's not a quid pro quo. Like I do something for you, so you do something for me, right? And you really have to think about serving your network. Your network is there for you to serve it, not for them to serve you. And building relationships is like fabric. It needs to be kind of built and done over time to stand the test of time. And relationships there's many ways to build a network. It's connecting A to B. It's, making introductions. It's serving them through one capacity in your work or other. It's sharing something with them that is valuable to them. It's really about, taking those relationships and nurturing them. I actually have a whole section in the book about networking for introverts, because
I'm just going to get into that, right? It's hard for people out there.
Nothing is more daunting than walking to an event and not knowing anybody. And like, how the heck am I supposed to like network with people that I don't even know? And so what's the way to do it? A lot of people go to events now and don't have business cards. So you have to exchange phone numbers, you have a QR code. It's like the playbook is different now. And so you just have to know how to do it. How do you DM somebody after you network? What's the thing to say through Instagram or LinkedIn? Can you network through DM, which I absolutely have mastered, and I know exactly how not to do it.
Okay, so what's a pro tip to do and not to do when DMing?
Don't try to do all the business in the DM. That's number one. Try to get it off DM and into email, because then you can get it in email into a call, right? Too often people are trying to say what they want and close in a DM. That's just the major turnoff, and no one has time for that. Or
they pitch slap you right in the face.
You need to be very specific who you are, why you're reaching out, what you're looking for. And I always, always, always offer my email and phone number first.
Always.
So give them the power. If they want to contact me, now I've done it. And then that gesture alone is like, oh, she just gave me her phone number.
It's trust, right? It's establishing trust and
establishing trust.
Establishing trust is key. I mean, it happens in every practice, whether you're selling. I do it in recruiting because I'm cold reaching. I reach out cold to candidates for business development. So I put my stuff out there first. It's also credibility and authority. I think that's incredibly help your network. Always offer before you give with generosity. And it goes back to what we were talking about before. How do you gauge value in a relationship on how much to give, what to give?
Yeah, I think this is the art of practicing it a lot. You will know, right? So you don't want to be taken advantage of and just give away the house for free.
Oh, never.
You don't just want to connect A to B and say, see ya, wouldn't want to be ya. So you need to practice this muscle to develop it, and you will know. You will know what's the right temperature, too hot or too cold. But my kind of litmus test for doing this is I have to know the person. I have to at least know somebody who knows the person. So I try to get context and information, so I'm not just running blind. The second thing I do when I think about bringing value to somebody is if I'm doing something to give value for somebody because I think that's good for them, great. But if I might be making a deposit for, like, I don't want something maybe from you, Adam, but I know that if I do good favor and I help you and I support you over the years, that maybe one day, somebody, you have a guest on your show that I really meet, then that might make that deposit in that trust bank be something I can withdraw a year, 3 years from
now. That's a long game.
And that's what the purpose of a long game is thinking about all those things. So let me give you a really good day-to-day example I'm living right now.
Please.
I've been working for 30 years. I have written this book and I need a village to sell this book and to get it in aware of people. So hopefully, if I've done my practicing what I preach, I've made enough deposits in other people's trust banks where I've served them, either their clients or their friends or people I helped out
Goodwill.
or I did work for, and they appreciate me or they value me or they know my story with my parents or they grew up with me. Then, that's why it's easy to ask and receive, because you know that you've done some good stuff in your life where like, okay, now I'm going to be able to like ask for support, because this is the first time I ever really asked for that kind of support at that level. And it's been so rewarding, because this book talks about being a long-term player, and I've been long-terming it for 30 years.
And it's a marathon. And I think one easy way to add value to anyone out there, what I love to do, I'm a connection conduit. It's making value add introductions and putting context behind it, and saying why you think these two people should connect.
Yes.
And also be mindful too, if there's a value pendulum in a hierarchy.
Yeah.
Of sometimes asking permission. Like there's certain etiquette too, but that's an easy one to try. Try it at a low level. When you see two people, you're at an event, make that connection, make that introduction. That is an easy way to provide value. Even if it doesn't lead to something, you're helping someone create a new relationship, and you're showing that you're thinking about them and listening to what they're looking to solve.
That's exactly my playbook. The other thing too, Adam, for that is like, give context. Like
Context is key.
Everybody hates that. Like when two people connect, you're like, oh, I think you two should know each other. And I'm like, what?
Why?
Why am
Why?
Yeah. So give me context. So then I'm like, no, oh, this is about this. Like make that connection. And also don't do it if you think that other person won't appreciate it either, because then you're embarrassed that you introduced them to somebody, but the other person was like, listen, I don't really have time to meet all these random people you want me to meet. So, be thoughtful about it, but also give the right context.
And it's nice here too in the book too, and talking about the structure of it. This is a workbook. This really is a workbook, and it's
I like how you have Post-it notes and it's earmarked.
Preparation is key, and it shows in the results of your work, and the guests appreciate that you did your homework.
Yeah, I do. I'm saying I'm so grateful.
You have to, because otherwise it's a bullshit interview. I mean, let's talk about what you do for a living. Preparation is key.
Yeah.
In this.
Yeah.
None of us are Larry King. Rest in peace. None of us are Larry King.
So
Larry King, for anyone out there who doesn't know, did no prep because he felt, keep me straight on this one. He felt it would be better aligned to be similar with the audience going in not knowing anything. That was kind of his like BS kind of like that. That was the approach he took. I'm going to hear this for the first time. He would interview somebody and be like, "Who are you?" Right?
Yeah, that's so funny. You did a good Larry King.
I mean, everyone out there, watch Gary and Larry King go. It's a classic there. So
that's like a classic interview, by the way.
Two complete polar opposites, but they also have so much in common, which is fun.
Yeah.
That's
an iconic interview. I should bring that back.
Oh, it's an instant classic there. So now we're going to turn the page and we're going to get serious here, because this is from the actual book itself. This is where you brought it all home, and you really showcased your writing abilities, your writing prowess, I should say, and tying it all together. And it really sums up who you are. It sums up your North Star. It sums up why and how you got to where you are today, and really talking about your parents. And you lead off with this quote here I'm going to read from Serena Williams. "I don't have regrets. I don't live in the past. I live in the present and learn not to make the same mistakes in the future." It seems so practical, but why is everyone looking backwards all the time and living in the past?
I think, the future is uncertain. The future is unknown. And so I feel like they're not self-reliant. They don't trust themselves to figure anything out that comes their way. And I feel like if we can just learn this muscle, even if it's small, if it's just the learning piece or the reputation piece or the value creator piece, I feel people will walk around with much more confidence. Actually, I envision a world where everyone is self-reliant and so powerful and so strong and so knowledgeable and so wanting to come to the table with something instead of coming to the table with a handout. I kind of think of it as energy giving versus energy taking.
100%.
Then imagine what this world would be like.
Imagine that kind of world. But this world is a crazy place. It's, for me, it's about when I think about my kids, I'm like, listen, I can't shelter them, but what I can do is teach them and provide them the tools so they could, fend for themselves and make smart decisions and empower them with tools that are in this book here. So let's talk about living with no regrets. And the first one is being intentional.
Yeah. So I feel like it's easy to say, but hard to do. But like, what is it that I'm focused on every day? Like being intentional about everything. Like I always work out first thing in the morning because I'm signaling to my life and to my brain and to myself that my health is the most important thing. If I don't work out every morning, I'm not going to have a good day, or I'm not going to be healthy. I'm not going to enjoy the fruits of my labor. I'm not going to enjoy my family. I'm not going to enjoy my success. So be intentional about how you spend your time. Who do you spend your time with? How much content are you consuming? How are you getting breaks? Are you working to yourself to the ground? So I feel like, you want to have a life with no regrets. Don't do things that you don't want to be doing, that you feel you should be doing. Sorry, I need to shut that. But I just wanted to say, like, that's what that means, is be intentional about time and place and energy, and where do you spend it and who do you spend it with?
What is that key life lesson that you learned from each of your parents?
I learned a lot of patience, right? I had to learn how to be patient. They were suffering. They were very, very sick. I had to learn to not take myself too seriously. I had to learn that if I was having a bad day, it was nothing in comparison to what they were suffering from. My dad had a trach and a feeding tube. My mother, for 22 years, literally, she declined, but most of the last 10 or 15 years of her life, she didn't speak. She didn't say a word. Rarely did she say something. And if she did, she only uttered one word, which was my name. And that was, I remember one year, she went like a year and a half, she didn't talk, and she said my name, and we all just cried because we couldn't believe that she spoke. So patience was first. Second is just, understanding that you got to put things in perspective. As long as you're alive and you're healthy, you really have nothing to complain about, and everyone that you care about is safe. I think that was a big one. And then just, trying to spend your time on this earth doing the things that you care about, and don't sweat the small stuff because it's all small stuff. I used to be a very poor manager. Like I was anxious. I was not happy. I was stressed. I'm like, why? Like nothing's going to matter. I'm completely different now, but I'm a very relaxed manager compared to what I used to be when I started my business 20 years ago. Because I felt like that's how you had to be the boss. And that's not how you do it. And it took me like good, 10, 15 years to figure that out, but I did.
And lucky for you, you've had incredible life, business, personal experiences. You've been around some incredible leaders. Who's inspired you the most as a leader? The way your leadership style?
My dad. I mean, it's just a no-brainer for me. It's not any of my clients that I've worked with. I think, my dad has been a stay in my life throughout. He was a dean of a business school, management professor. He studied organizational behavior. He was an educator, so I learned a lot from him. And of course, I've worked with incredible people, and I learn a little bit from everybody. It rubs off on you in so many ways. Gary's taught me a lot about empathetic leadership. Naguib, a big businessman in Egypt, taught me a lot about the importance of loyalty. Loyalty is the most important thing in business. Without it, you have
and friendship.
Yeah, loyalty is really important. I worked with the founder of Careem, which is now Uber in the Middle East. Learned a lot from him about tenacity and grit and what you need to do to keep going in the face of adversity. Like everyone I've touched or worked with has taught me something, but at the end of the day, you have to make it your own style and your own being. And that's how I came across self-reliance, because I feel like if you have the skills to rely on yourself, you can do anything you want.
Absolutely love it. And last but not least, Maha, and I switched my encore, my final questions from the first time you were on the show. The first time I asked you about your North Star, which is excellent. So I pivoted the show to be a little bit deeper focused on the entrepreneurial journey and defining it. So Maha, how do you define success?
Being happy with who you are when you go to bed every night, when you lay your head on the pillow. That's really what it is for me. Like, am I a good person? Am I helping people? Am I bringing value to this world? Am I a good sister? Am I a good aunt? Am I a good manager? Honestly, that's what it's about.
Absolutely love it. Getting some love from Paris as well, international. Maha, there's been another incredible conversation. I want everyone to check out Maha's book. It is coming out in October 8th.
October 8th, please pre-order the book. And I would love a review if you purchase the book. It makes such a big difference for first-time authors. And if you enjoyed it, post, tag me, tell me what you guys loved about it. And if anyone wants to pre-order the book, they can get invited to my free VIP launch party. I have some special guests. Of course, Gary will be there among others. But you can pre-order the book, and then you get into my master classes, which I offer free workshops, and you get an e-workbook, which is an extra guide with bonus content from the book. Go to my website and get into this launch party. I want to see you guys there. You won't believe the lineup.
And I really truly mean this. I read a lot of books. I put this up there with Bozeman St. John's book. I put this up there with Matt Higgins' book. These are not just business books. They're actionable and they're incredibly well-written life stories. So Maha, I want to thank you again for your time, for your friendship, for your mentorship, and everything that you do. I really look forward to always having these conversations and continuing to build our relationship. Everyone out there, you could find Maha's book. It's going to be on Amazon. I actually owe you a review on this, which I'm going to do after the show. I owe you a review on
October 8th. You can't do the review.
Oh, I can't review yet. All right, I'm going to put a note in my calendar to make sure I do that. And everyone out there, I want to thank everyone and connect with Maha on Instagram. Connect with Maha on LinkedIn. What's that Instagram handle? Because it's
MAHAGABER, which is my dad's name. It's my first name and my middle name. In the Middle East, your middle name is your dad's name. So Maha Geber. But if you put in my full name, which is here,
it'll come up.
it'll come up.
And
such a long name, I know.
We're gonna link it up in the comments here. And everyone out there at home, I want to thank you for spending time with us. You know where to find out more at thepodcast.com. If this show meant something to you, leave a review, rating. It goes a long way. Sharing means caring. Remember, be good to yourself, be better to others, and catch us next week for another great episode of the podcast. Take care, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks, Adam.